This is The Download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Monday, February 9th. First up, as the nation's eyes turn to Minneapolis, they're also turning to Minnesota Public Radio. Neiman Lab takes a look at Q4 2025 performance metrics for public radio stations based on web traffic. Minnesota Public Radio topped off the list at number 1 for November and December, with Oregon Public Broadcasting taking the top spot in October. It's worth noting the killings of Renee Good and Alex Peretti happened in early January, so the news increase from those did not impact numbers for NPR in this quarterly report. The October-December boost in NPR traffic stems probably from the longer story of ICE presence in Minneapolis and nearby Chicago during Q4 of 2025, drawing press attention to the area. NPR's performance shows what happens when public media is able to exist and do the work it was designed to from the start. Local journalism produced locally gets results. Next up, AudioUK supports DCMS research into the UK podcasting and audio industry. Let me explain the initialisms. The UK Department for Culture, Media and Sport is launching a new research project aiming to look at the scale of the United Kingdom's podcasting and audio industry. In partnership with AudioUK, the DCMS data will help shape how the UK government approaches and supports podcasting going forward. As such, AudioUK is encouraging companies and organizations relevant to podcasting in the United Kingdom to fill out a short survey to chip in, which is making this a call to any UK listener out there in the business of podcasting. The link in the show notes will take you to the survey link. You can chip in there. Next up, Bloomberg radio and podcast listening rise sharply in 2025. Inside Audio Marketing covers a new memo sent to employees by Bloomberg Media CEO Karen Saltzer that outlines the full year 2025 financial and audience data. According to the memo, revenue was up 6% year over year thanks to double-digit subscription growth. Audio advertising in particular had a 16% year over year increase, which itself is boosted by podcast revenue specifically growing 36%. Which comes on the heels of last year's renewed agreement with iHeartMedia to have them continue handling Bloomberg podcast ad sales and distribution, as iHeart has done since 2021. And finally, Hollywood is losing audience to AI fatigue. Wired takes a look at the downfall of AI, in air quotes here, in the public consciousness, both in fiction and in practice. Back in 2023, just before ChatGPT became a household name, Megan, M3GAN, was lauded as a campy, self-aware horror romp with an AI run amok. Now, AI-jaded audiences shun movies about sentient AI-like characters, from Megan 2 to Mercy, the current Chris Pratt thriller about convincing an AI judge he's innocent of a crime. The YouTube comments of the Darren Aronofsky-directed On This Day 1776 trailer, the trailer for a web series using generative AI animations voiced by SAG actors, are the digital equivalent of pitchforks and torches banging on the door to Castle Frankenstein. There are use cases for LLM tech in Hollywood, but it's largely unseen by the public. Sinners used in-house LLM to generate and place recordings of Michael B. Jordan's face over his stunt double, and it received not a peep of online backlash. But oversaturation is a deadly thing in Hollywood, and generative AI, both as a concept and a delivery method, might have reached that point. Consider zombies. Back in the early 2010s, you couldn't avoid zombies. Every bit of the zeitgeist was full of them. Then the general public had their fill of them and became sick of zombies with such a fervor that zombies really haven't recovered culturally outside of breakout hits like The Last of Us or 28 years later. As for the rest of the news, Anthony Vargas of Ad Exchanger covers how BBC Studios intends to use Triton Digital's new benchmarking tool to answer years-old questions about podcast ad performance. That was the sound of my glasses pinging off an Olipop can, by the way. The Daily Beast and Daylight have announced a strategic partnership with Daylight set to oversee ad sales, distribution, and monetization for the Daily Beast podcast slate. JAR Podcast Solutions co-founder Roger Nairn and co-host Scott Cunningham have launched Dead Dads, a podcast about dealing with grief with a blend of uncomfortable humor, their words, not mine, and reflections on loss. The published press covers new finance numbers showing for the first time YouTube's revenue separate from the rest of Alphabet, clocking in at $60 billion, passing Netflix's $45 billion. Podcast One has announced several renewals and extensions to podcasts like The Prosecutors, some more news, and one that I would have to flag the show explicit for if I said the name, so you can go read the newsletter version. Additionally, they're handling sales and distribution for your amusement. Malcolm Gladwell has a new book out this September titled The American Way of Killing. The audiobook version will be produced by Pushkin Industries. And finally, Ad Exchanger covers the first Super Bowl ad efforts of two brands with deep podcasting roots, Manscaped and Rogue. You can check out the links to everything I just talked about by clicking the one link in your show notes, your podcast description, whatever it's called. There's one clickable link in there that will take you to today's episode post on soundsprofitable.com. As usual, the download is written and produced by myself, Brian Barletta, and Tom Webster. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis, and I'll see you tomorrow.